welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. I've always had a thing about the air in this town. Growing up with asthma made me hyper-aware of it, the weight, the moisture, the invisible particles dancing in every breath. That's partly why I became a chemistry teacher, I suppose. Understanding what we can't see became a lifelong obsession. But I never expected that obsession would lead me here, documenting what might be the end of everything I've known. It started 3 days ago, Wednesday morning, late September. The weather had been strange for weeks, unseasonably warm, with cloud formations I'd never seen in my 15 years living in Millfield. Low-hanging and strangely metallic in color, like brushed steel stretched across the horizon. I remember standing in the high school parking lot after dismissal, watching those clouds move against the wind. That's not supposed to happen. Clouds don't move against prevailing winds unless there's a complex weather system at play. But these did, sliding southeast while the trees bent northwest. My colleague Diana would have appreciated the anomaly. She taught earth sciences before moving to Colorado last spring. The school hadn't replaced her yet, leaving me with double the lab equipment and half the expertise on meteorological phenomena. The first thing I noticed was the stillness. Birds weren't singing. The usual crickets and cicadas had gone quiet. Even the air felt different against my skin, heavier, almost oily. I pulled out my phone to take a photo of those strange clouds when the first emergency alert came through. Emergency alert. Atmospheric anomaly detected. Remain indoors. Seal windows and doors. Further instructions to follow. My finger hovered over the message. The school had emptied minutes ago, teenagers scattering across town on buses and in cars. My first thought was for my students, kids like Mackenzie Peters with severe asthma worse than mine ever was. I tried calling the principal, but the network was suddenly congested. 3 more attempts, then I gave up and headed for my car. The metallic clouds had spread further across the sky, and the air felt thicker with each passing minute. The radio came to life as soon as I started the engine. The emergency broadcast system had activated on every station, repeating the same message that had come through on my phone, with an additional detail that made my chest tighten. Air quality measurements have detected abnormal particulate matter. If you detect a metallic odor, immediately cover your mouth and nose with a damp cloth and seek shelter indoors. Metallic odor. I hadn't noticed anything yet, but the warning triggered my awareness. Taking a deep breath through my nose, I detected something subtle but distinct, like copper pennies or the tang of blood, but airier, almost sweet. Not unpleasant, but definitely not normal. Traffic crawled through downtown Millfield. At the 4-way stop by the courthouse, Sheriff Holden directed vehicles with practiced gestures. Even from inside my sealed car, I could see the tension in his posture. When he recognized me, he approached my window. I hesitated before lowering it just an inch. "Alex," he nodded, his expression grim beneath his department-issued hat. "Head straight home. We're trying to get everyone inside as quickly as possible." "What's happening, Jim?" I'd known him since high school. We weren't friends exactly, but Millfield was small enough that 15 years built a certain familiarity. "CDC's been monitoring something in the atmosphere. Came down from Minneapolis this morning." He glanced at the sky. "They're setting up at the community center. For now, just get home and stay there." Before I could ask more, someone leaned on their horn several cars back, and Holden returned to directing traffic. The drive to my neighborhood usually took 7 minutes from downtown. That day, it took 23. I counted each one, watching the strange clouds spread until they covered the entire sky. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the light had changed, filtered and diffuse, casting everything in a slightly bronze hue. My neighbor Marcus was outside, unloading groceries from his truck with frantic energy. When he saw me, he waved urgently. "You seeing this shit, Alex?" He gestured at the sky with a free hand, grocery bags dangling from his arm. "Weather Service is saying nothing about it. Nothing. But military vehicles have been passing through on Route 16 all morning." Marcus had moved in last year after his divorce. He worked remotely for some tech company and had a tendency toward conspiratorial thinking, but he was generally good-hearted. "They're telling everyone to stay inside," I said, unlocking my front door. "You should probably finish getting those groceries in." Yeah, he muttered, grabbing the last of his bags. "But this isn't a normal weather event. I've been tracking patterns for years." This is another alert cut through our conversation as both our phones buzzed simultaneously. "Emergency alert. The air smells like metal. Stay inside. Seal all windows and doors with plastic sheeting and tape if available. Do not ventilate." The directness of it sent a chill through me. No government agency writes alerts that plainly unless the situation is deteriorating rapidly. "Jesus, Marcus Visperid. I'll call you later," he added before hurrying inside. I sealed myself in my house, grateful for the weather stripping I'd installed last winter to keep my heating bills down. My chest felt tight, anxiety or asthma, I couldn't tell which. I found my inhaler in the bathroom cabinet and took a precautionary puff. Standing at my living room window, I surveyed the neighborhood. Cars lined every driveway, families having rushed home. No children played in yards. No dogs being walked, just still, empty streets under that strange metallic sky. I pulled out my phone again, searching for more information. Social media was flooded with the same questions I had, but few answers. Local news websites had crashed from traffic. The CDC site showed a banner about an ongoing atmospheric event, but provided no details beyond the same instructions to stay inside. It was while refreshing these pages that I first noticed the metallic taste in my mouth. Subtle at first, like licking a battery, that same electric tang. I hadn't eaten since lunch, hours earlier, so it wasn't leftover flavor from food. I went to the bathroom and examined my tongue in the mirror. It looked normal, pink and healthy, but the taste persisted, growing stronger by the minute. When I returned to the window, the bronze light had intensified. Tree leaves shimmered unnaturally, as if coated in a fine dust that caught the strange light. And then I saw it, a faint shimmer in the air itself, like heat waves but more uniform, visible only when I unfocused my eyes slightly. Something was in our air, something we were all breathing right now, despite closed windows and doors. I picked up a notebook, the one I used for lesson planning, and turned to a blank page. If something was happening, someone should document it objectively. That's what scientists do. Observe, record, analyze. My first entry was simple. September 28th. Emergency alerts regarding metallic odor in atmosphere. Visual anomalies observed in sky. Metallic taste noted personally at 4:37 p.m. Respiratory function normal but concerning. Little did I know this would become the first entry in a chronicle of our town's transformation, and my own. Sleep evaded me that night. I lay awake listening to the silence. No cars passing. No distant train whistle. None of the ambient sounds that usually formed the soundtrack of Millfield nights. Just the occasional hum of my refrigerator and the too loud ticking of the kitchen clock. The metallic taste in my mouth had intensified. I'd brushed my teeth 3 times before bed, but nothing removed it. By morning, my tongue felt coated, as if I'd been sucking on pennies all night. I checked my phone, 17 missed calls from parents of my students, 5 from the school principal, and 3 new emergency alerts. Emergency alert. Maintain indoor shelter. Do not attempt to leave home. Essential services personnel will receive direct instructions. Emergency alert. Conserve water. Potential for supply contamination being assessed. Boil before consuming. Emergency alert. CDC mobile units arriving. Comply with all testing protocols. Stay inside until contacted. No explanation, no time frame, just orders. The view from my windows had changed overnight. The bronze hue had deepened, casting everything in a strange amber light. A fine dust seemed to cover every surface outside my car, the mailbox, the lawn, giving everything a dull metallic sheen. When I wiped my finger across the inside of the window, a faint metallic residue transferred to my skin. This was inside my sealed home. My phone rang, Marcus calling from next door. "Alex, you seeing this? The dust." "Yeah," I answered, my voice raspier than normal. "It's everywhere. My tap water's running rusty," he said, his words coming rapidly. "And there's military vehicles setting up blockades on all the roads out of town." I checked traffic cams online before they went dark. I moved to my kitchen sink and turned the faucet. The water ran clear for a moment, then developed a slight reddish-brown tinge. Not rust from old pipes, this was different. Lighter, almost luminescent. "Don't drink it," I warned Marcus. The alert said to boil everything. "I'm not drinking anything," he replied. "Listen, this isn't some natural phenomenon. My cousin works for FEMA. He's not answering, but last night before the calls dropped, he texted saying something about a containment protocol. They're keeping us in, Alex." A knock at my door cut our conversation short. Through the peephole, I saw Sheriff Holden standing on my porch, wearing what looked like a painter's mask. Behind him idled a white van with CDC markings. "I'll call you back," I told Marcus, then opened the door just enough to speak through the gap. Holden's eyes looked red-rimmed above his mask. "Morning, Alex. CDC's set up testing stations. They need all residents with medical training or science backgrounds to help process people faster. Principal Winters gave them your name." "Testing for what exactly?" I asked. He glanced back at the van. "They're not telling us much, just that they need to check blood samples and lung function for everyone in town." He lowered his voice. "Between us, they've got a mobile lab that looks military grade. Whatever this is, it's serious." I hesitated. My asthma technically put me in a high-risk category, but if my knowledge could help, "Let me get my inhaler," I said. The community center had transformed overnight into a makeshift field hospital. Plastic sheeting divided the basketball court into examination areas. Men and women in hazmat suits moved between stations, carrying sealed containers of blood samples and other specimens. A woman in a CDC jacket approached as soon as Sheriff Holden escorted me in. She wore an N95 mask rather than full protective gear, which I found both reassuring and concerning. "Dr. Chan," she introduced herself, extending a gloved hand. "You must be Alexander Mercer. We appreciate your assistance. Are you experiencing any symptoms? Respiratory difficulties? Unusual taste sensations?" I admitted to the metallic taste. She nodded as if confirming something, then led me to a screening station where a technician took my temperature, blood pressure, and a blood sample. "Your background in chemistry will be valuable," Dr. Chin explained while we waited for my preliminary results. "We're analyzing air and water samples, trying to identify the contaminant." "What do you know so far?" I asked. She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "An atmospheric anomaly was detected by weather satellites 3 days ago. It appeared to originate approximately 20 miles northwest of town, spread rapidly, and now covers roughly a 30-mile radius centered on Millfield. Origin? Natural or man-made? That's classified for now," she replied, but her expression suggested concern beyond standard protocol. "What we can tell you is that the particulate matter contains metallic components we haven't fully identified. It's reacting with moisture in the air and on surfaces. Hence the discoloration you've likely noticed." My screening results came back. Dr. Chun studied them with a frown. "Your white blood cell count is elevated, and there are anomalous particulates in your blood sample," she said. "But you're still within parameters that allow you to assist rather than be admitted for observation." "Admitted?" "People are being hospitalized. Those with more advanced symptoms," she confirmed. "Primarily respiratory cases and the elderly so far." She assigned me to a water testing station, where I spent the next 6 hours analyzing samples from different neighborhoods. Every sample contained microscopic metallic particles that seemed to multiply rather than dissolve. When viewed under microscope, they formed crystalline structures unlike anything I'd seen before. By mid-afternoon, my tongue felt swollen, the metallic taste so strong I could barely concentrate. Others working nearby complained of the same. One technician removed his mask to drink water, and I glimpsed his tongue, dark copper in color, like an old penny. During a brief break, I wandered toward the administration area, hoping to overhear something useful. 2 military officers stood with Dr. Chun over a map of Millfield, marking zones with different colored pins. "The concentration is highest here," I heard Dr. Chun say, pointing to the northwestern section of town. "And the transformation rate correlates directly with exposure levels." "Transformation rate?" one officer asked. "Let's stick to contamination terminology, Doctor." She looked up and noticed me hovering nearby. Her expression changed instantly. "Mr. Mercer, your station needs more distilled water. Supply room is down the hall." I nodded and moved away, but the word stuck with me. Transformation. Not contamination or infection. Transformation. When my shift ended at dusk, Sheriff Holden drove me home. He looked exhausted, the skin around his eyes now definitely reddened, with tiny flecks of something reflective catching the strange light. "They're setting up quarantine zones," he told me as we drove through empty streets. "Northwestern neighborhoods first. Military's bringing in more personnel tomorrow." "Have you heard anything about what caused this?" I asked. He shook his head. "Above my pay grade, but I saw them bringing in people from the old mining area. Bad shape. Worse than anyone in town. The abandoned copper mine. Northwestern, just where Dr. Chun had indicated the highest concentration. It had closed decades ago after groundwater contamination concerns. When I got home, I found Marcus waiting on my porch, agitated and pacing. "They're not letting anyone leave," he said immediately. "I tried driving out on County Road 8. Military checkpoint turned me back. Said it was for our protection." His eyes were bloodshot like Holden's, and when he spoke, I caught a glimpse of his tongue, the same copper shade I'd seen at the center. "What did they tell you?" he demanded. "You were inside their operation all day." I shared what little I knew, omitting Dr. Chen's slip about transformation. No need to fuel his conspiracy theories, not yet. That night, another alert. Emergency alert. Mandatory blood testing for all residents begins tomorrow. Testing teams will visit each home. Compliance is required by federal emergency order. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror before bed. My eyes had developed the same reddish tinge around the edges. When I stuck out my tongue, the sight made my heart race. The entire surface had turned a burnished copper color. Something was changing inside us all. Something metallic was remaking us, cell by cell. In my notebook, I wrote, "Day 2, copper-colored tongue development. Metallic particles in blood confirmed. CDC evasive about origins. Possible connection to old mining area. Quarantine enforced. No one is leaving Millfield." Morning arrived with harsh light filtering through my blinds. Still that unsettling bronze color, but more intense now, as if the atmosphere itself was concentrating. I'd slept fitfully, waking several times to a strange tingling sensation across my skin. The first thing I noticed when I got up was the sheen. At first, I thought it was just sweat, the glistening aftermath of a fever dream night. But when I wiped my forearm, the shine remained. Under the bathroom lights, my skin had developed a subtle metallic luster, not quite reflective, but reminiscent of brushed aluminum with a coppery tint. Most noticeable on my hands and face, the areas most exposed to air. I tried washing it off. Soap, rubbing alcohol, even a baking soda paste. Nothing helped. The metallic quality seemed to emerge from within rather than rest on the surface. My phone buzzed with a new alert. Emergency alert. Communication restrictions in effect. Internet and cell service limited to emergency functions. Conserve battery power. As if on cue, my phone's signal bars disappeared, replaced by emergency calls only. I tried loading news websites, but nothing connected. The isolation was now complete. Millfield had been cut off from the outside world. The landline still worked, though. I called Marcus, who answered on the first ring as if he'd been sitting by the phone. "It's happening to you too, right? The skin thing." His voice sounded different, resonant with an almost metallic undertone. "Yes," I confirmed. "Have you looked at yourself in direct light?" "Look out your window," he replied instead. "The testing teams are here." From my living room, I could see white vans moving slowly down the street. Personnel in hazmat suits approached each house, carrying cases of equipment. Behind them rolled larger military vehicles, Humvees and transport trucks filled with armed soldiers in protective gear. "This isn't just CDC anymore," Marcus continued. "That's Army CBRN." "What?" "Chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear defense units. My brother-in-law served in one. They handle serious containment scenarios." A knock at my door ended our conversation. Two figures in hazmat suits stood on my porch, escorted by an armed soldier who kept a careful distance. The taller hazmat figure introduced herself as a CDC technician. They needed to take blood and tissue samples, perform a lung capacity test, and document my symptoms. I submitted to the procedures, watching as they sealed each sample in multiple containers. "I was at the community center yesterday," I told them, "working with Dr. Chun on water testing." The technicians exchanged glances. "You're on the science team roster," one confirmed. "Report back to the center at 2 p.m. Dr. Chun has requested you specifically." After they left, I showered again, scrutinizing every inch of my changing body. The metallic sheen was most pronounced over veins and arteries, as if whatever was in my bloodstream was pushing outward. My copper-colored tongue now had a texture like fine sandpaper. At the community center, the atmosphere had changed dramatically. Military personnel outnumbered CDC staff. New equipment had been installed, large machines with government markings and no manufacturer labels. The basketball court was now entirely devoted to patient beds, many of them occupied. Dr. Chun looked even more exhausted than yesterday, dark circles under her reddened eyes. When she saw me, she pulled me immediately into what had been the center's office. "Your water sample analyses were excellent," she said without preamble. "We need someone who understands the chemical properties of what we're dealing with, and your background is ideal." "What exactly are we dealing with, Dr. Chun?" I asked directly. "People deserve to know what's happening to them." She hesitated, glancing at the closed door. "I'm under strict information protocols, but I can tell you we're dealing with a novel metallic microparticle with properties we've never documented before." "From the old copper mine?" Her eyebrows raised. "You're perceptive." "Yes, the epicenter appears to be the abandoned mining complex. A geological survey team was conducting tests related to groundwater remediation when they encountered something. The details are classified." "Encountered what? A new metal?" "Not exactly." She lowered her voice further. "The particles demonstrate behaviors inconsistent with inert materials. They're reactive, adaptive, and appear to be integrating with organic tissue." The implications hit me like a physical blow. "You're saying these metal particles are alive?" "I'm saying they operate at the boundary of our definitions of organic and inorganic." She opened a folder and showed me microscopy images of blood samples. Crystalline structures had formed within red blood cells, beautiful and terrifying geometric patterns that reminded me of snowflakes. If snowflakes were made of copper and grew inside your body. "This is from someone in the advanced stages," she explained. "The transformation progresses predictably once it begins. First the metallic taste, then visible changes to mucous membranes, followed by the skin effect you're experiencing. After that," she didn't finish the sentence, but her eyes flicked toward the gymnasium floor, where the sickest patients lay. "What happens to us?" I asked. "We don't know yet. We're racing to understand the mechanism before too many people reach the later stages." She checked her watch. I need you to analyze these soil samples from different distances from the epicenter. We're trying to map the spread rate. I spent the afternoon hunched over a microscope, documenting concentrations of the strange metallic particles in soil from around Millfield. The particles moved in ways metal shouldn't, aggregating, separating, forming complex structures when stimulated with electrical current. During a brief break, I wandered toward the patient area, drawn by morbid curiosity about the advanced stages Dr. Chan had mentioned. Most beds had privacy screens, but through a gap, I glimpsed someone I recognized, Mrs. Abernathy, who ran the town bakery. Her skin had progressed far beyond my subtle sheen, now fully metallic like burnished bronze. Her eyes, when they fluttered open, reflected light like mirrors. A hand gripped my arm, pulling me away. "Sheriff Holden, you shouldn't be over here, Alex," he warned, but his voice lacked conviction. His own transformation had progressed, skin shimmering, eyes reflective. "Have you heard from outside?" I asked him. "Other towns, the state government?" "Communications restricted to command channels," he replied. "Military's running the perimeter now. I'm just managing civilian cooperation." He lowered his voice, but I overheard the colonel. "They've expanded the quarantine zone twice already. Whatever this is, it's spreading beyond Millfield." As my shift ended, Dr. Chun gave me a small device, a handheld spectrometer modified to detect the metallic particles. "Check your home," she instructed. "Map concentration levels in different rooms. We need to understand if standard construction materials provide any barrier." On the drive home, military convoys passed in the opposite direction, headed toward the northwestern edge of town, the old mining area. I caught glimpses of larger equipment under tarps, not medical supplies, but what looked like drilling apparatus or excavation gear. Marcus was waiting when I arrived home, pacing my porch again. His transformation had accelerated beyond mine. Skin fully reflective now, eyes like polished copper. "They're not testing anymore," he said urgently. "The teams that came after you left. They took people away. Anyone in advanced stages." "Taking them where?" I asked. "The mine. Whatever started there, they're bringing people back to it." He gripped my arm, his touch strangely warm. "We need to see for ourselves. Tonight, after curfew." "That's insane," I protested. "The military has the entire town surrounded." "Not the old maintenance tunnels that run under the Western District," Marcus countered. "My surveying job mapped them last year. They come up less than a mile from the mine perimeter." I thought of Mrs. Abernathy's metallic skin, of Dr. Chen's half-answers, of Sheriff Holden's warning about the expanding quarantine. "Let me check something first," I said, activating the spectrometer Dr. Chan had given me. The readings inside my house were high. Particles had penetrated everywhere. But when I pointed the device at Marcus, it spiked dramatically, the detection needle hitting the maximum limit. According to this instrument, Marcus wasn't just contaminated. He was becoming a concentrated source of whatever was transforming Millfield. In my notebook that night, I wrote, "Day 3, metallic skin manifestation progressing. Military assuming control. Communication with outside world cut off. Particle source confirmed at old mine site. Marcus showing advanced transformation. Possible expedition to mine tomorrow. God help us if we're caught." The sound woke me before dawn, a rasping, rhythmic noise that I only realized was coming from me when I fully regained consciousness. My breathing had changed overnight, producing a faint metallic whistle on each exhale, like air passing through fine copper pipes. I sat up, focusing on the sensation in my chest. The familiar tightness of my asthma was gone, replaced by something different, not constriction but transformation. My lungs felt coated, each breath drawing across a surface that wasn't flesh anymore. When I coughed experimentally, a fine dust with metallic flecks scattered across my white bedsheets. In the bathroom mirror, the changes had accelerated. The metallic sheen now covered my entire body uniformly, giving my skin the appearance of polished bronze. My eyes had changed too, the whites now had a coppery tint, and my irises reflected light in a way human eyes shouldn't. I looked both sickly and oddly enhanced, like a statue coming to life rather than a human turning to metal. When I tried using my inhaler out of habit, the medication had no effect. Whatever was happening to my respiratory system no longer responded to bronchodilators. Yet strangely, I wasn't short of breath. If anything, I felt like I could draw deeper breaths than before. The landline rang, startling me. "Alex!" It was Dr. Chun, her voice tense. "We have a situation developing. How advanced are your symptoms?" I described the changes to my skin and breathing. "You're entering stage 3, she confirmed, "but still functional." "Good. We need you at the center immediately. Sheriff Holden will come get you." "What's happening?" Pause. "The Western quarantine zone was breached overnight. We're relocating operations to the high school, better security perimeter." "Breached by whom?" "People trying to escape." Another pause. "Not exactly. Just be ready in 15 minutes. While waiting, I packed essentials into a backpack, uncertain when I might return home. Through the window, I could see increased military movement in the streets, not just Humvees now, but armored personnel carriers. A helicopter circled overhead, its spotlight sweeping across neighborhoods. My doorbell rang, but instead of Sheriff Holden, I found Marcus on my porch, his appearance shocking even though I'd seen his progression yesterday. His skin had moved beyond metallic sheen to actual restructuring, geometric patterns raised like circuitry across his face and hands. His eyes were fully reflective now, like polished copper coins. "We need to go now," he insisted, his voice vibrating oddly. "They're rounding up everyone showing advanced symptoms. Dr. Chun just called me in to help," I told him. "Sheriff Holden is coming." "Holden's gone, Alex," Marcus interrupted. "They took him 3 hours ago. He fought back when they came for his wife. She was further along than him." Before I could process this information, a military transport rounded the corner. Marcus ducked behind my house just as the vehicle stopped at my curb. 2 soldiers in protective gear emerged, followed by Dr. Chun. She assessed me visually as I approached. "The transformation is accelerating across the board," she noted. "We're seeing consistent patterns now. Come, we need your help with analysis." In the transport, through the small windows, I witnessed Millfield transformed. Military checkpoints at every major intersection. Houses marked with colored symbols indicating contamination levels. Some homes had been completely sealed with plastic containment barriers, their occupants presumably removed. "The metallic particles have reached critical mass in the ecosystem," Dr. Chen explained quietly, away from the soldiers' ears. "It's in the groundwater now, concentrating in the reservoir. The quarantine boundary keeps expanding." "Are other towns affected?" She nodded grimly. 3 neighboring communities show early-stage symptoms. The governor has declared a state emergency, though the public explanation is a chemical spill from the old mining operation. The high school had been converted even more thoroughly than the community center. The gymnasium served as the command center, science labs were repurposed for research, and classrooms had become examination rooms or quarters for essential personnel. In my own chemistry classroom, now a contamination analysis station, I found other local people with science backgrounds had been conscripted veterinarians, the dentist, a retired nurse. All showed signs of transformation, though not as advanced as mine. Dr. Chun gave me new duties, analyzing tissue samples from those in various stages. Each sample told the same story. Human cells methodically restructured by metallic particles that seemed to be building something within us, replacing organic systems with metallic analogs that somehow continued to function. During a brief lunch break, food now tasted exclusively of metal, making eating a joyless necessity. I overheard military personnel discussing the primary structure and unusual activity patterns at the epicenter. Their conversation halted when they noticed me listening. In the afternoon, a commotion erupted near the main entrance. A military team brought in a struggling captive Marcus, His transformation further advanced even since morning. His skin now appeared completely metallic, with distinct patterns etched across his face and hands. He no longer looked fully human. This one was approaching the western perimeter, a soldier reported. Heading toward the mine site, Dr. Chun examined Marcus from a distance. Remarkable progression rate. Get him to special containment in the East Wing. As they dragged him past, Marcus locked eyes with me. His voice came out with a harmonic resonance that raised the hairs on my neck. "They're calling us back, Alex," he said. "Can't you hear it? The signal's getting stronger." I said nothing, afraid to reveal our connection. But his words resonated with something I'd been feeling, a subtle pulling sensation toward the northwest, like an invisible thread tugging at my consciousness. Late afternoon brought a new development. Dr. Chun pulled me into what had been the principal's office, now lined with military communications equipment. On a screen, satellite images showed the old copper mine area surrounded by specialized equipment and a heavy military presence. "You have a right to know what we're dealing with," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The geological survey team found something 2 weeks ago, not a new copper vein, but a metallic mass of unknown composition. When they attempted to take samples, it reacted." "Reacted how?" I asked. "It released these particles, initially contained to the immediate area, but they spread exponentially." She showed me another image, microscopy of a particle attaching to a human cell. "They don't just contaminate, they convert, organic to inorganic, but somehow preserving function. It's beyond our current science." "What does the military think it is?" I asked. "Biological warfare? Alien material?" She shook her head. "They're still debating, but the leading theory is that it's been dormant deep in the earth for potentially millions of years. The mining operations decades ago might have brought it closer to the surface, and the recent geological testing finally exposed it." A soldier interrupted us with urgent news: 3 more breaches in the quarantine perimeter, all by residents in advanced stages, all heading toward the mine. As night fell, new emergency alerts were broadcast over the loudspeakers installed throughout town. "Emergency alert. Mandatory curfew from sunset to sunrise. Unauthorized movement will result in immediate detention. All residents at stage 3 or higher must report to designated collection points." The metallic whistle in my breathing had grown more pronounced. Each breath felt different, more efficient but less human. And the pull toward the northwest had strengthened from suggestion to compulsion. In a bathroom stall, away from surveillance, I made a quick entry in my notebook. Day 4. Respiratory system changing metallic components in lungs. Military containment escalating. Marcus captured, showing extreme transformation. Dr. Chun confirms conversion process from organic to inorganic. All advanced cases being drawn to the mine source. I feel it too now. A call I can't explain but increasingly can't resist. That night, I didn't return to my assigned quarters in the science wing. As the pull toward the mine grew stronger, I made a decision. If I was being transformed by something I didn't understand, I needed to conduct my own investigation before I lost the capacity for independent thought. I slipped away during a shift change, using my teacher's keys to access parts of the building away from military personnel. The transformation had an unexpected benefit. My asthma seemed completely gone, replaced by whatever metallic structures were forming in my lungs. I could move quickly and quietly, my breathing no longer betraying me with wheezes or gasps. Home was eerily silent when I arrived, the entire neighborhood dark except for occasional military spotlights sweeping across houses. I went directly to my basement, where I'd maintained a modest home laboratory for preparing classroom demonstrations. The spectrometer Dr. Chun had given me showed alarmingly high readings throughout the house, but the basement registered slightly lower contamination levels. Concrete and earth provided some barrier to the particles, though not enough for safety. I gathered my microscope, chemistry sets, sample containers, and testing equipment. If I was going to understand what was happening to us, I needed baseline measurements from my own environment. Water samples from my tap revealed what I'd suspected: high concentrations of the metallic particles, suspended in a way that defied normal physics. They should have settled to the bottom of the container, but instead formed intricate, constantly shifting patterns. Under the microscope, they appeared to communicate with each other, geometric structures passing information through their arrangement. Food samples showed similar contamination. I tested an apple from my refrigerator. The metallic particles had penetrated the skin and flesh, concentrating along the cellular walls. When I placed a small electrical current near the sample, the particles reoriented themselves instantly, as if responding to a signal. Most disturbing were my own samples. A scraping of skin cells, a drop of blood, a few strands of hair, all showed advanced integration with the metallic material. Under magnification, my blood cells had been restructured, their normal round shapes altered to hexagonal forms with metallic latticework throughout. Yet somehow they still transported oxygen, perhaps even more efficiently than before. I was so absorbed in my analysis that I almost missed the sound of a vehicle stopping outside. Peering through the basement window, I saw a military Humvee parked across the street. Two soldiers in protective gear were marking the house opposite mine with red spray paint, the symbol I'd seen on homes scheduled for occupant removal. I quickly packed essential equipment into my backpack, adding water bottles and non-perishable food. Whatever happened next, I couldn't risk being taken to special containment like Marcus. As I prepared to leave through the back door, my landline phone rang. After 4 rings, against better judgment, I answered. "Alex, it's Eliza Chin." Her voice sounded strained. "Where are you? They've noticed your absence." "I needed to check something at home," I replied carefully. Pause. "They're conducting a sweep of civilian residences tonight. Stage 3 and 4 individuals are being relocated to a secure facility at the mine site." "Relocated or studied?" I challenged. Another pause. "Both," she admitted. "Look, I know how this appears, but the military is trying to contain something they don't understand. And the advanced cases, they're not just being transformed physically. Their behavior is changing in coordinated ways, like being drawn to the mine, yes, and other patterns. The stage 4 cases we've studied show adaptive changes that don't match human biological processes anymore." She hesitated. "Their neural activity is synchronizing, Alex. It's like they're becoming networked." The implications chilled me. "Are you saying we're being, what? Colonized? Converted?" "I'm saying you need to come back before they find you. I can ensure you're treated as research personnel rather than a subject if you return voluntarily." The offer was tempting, but something held me back. Perhaps the same instinct that had driven me home. "I need time to consider my options," I said finally. "There's a military transport coming down your street in approximately 20 minutes, she replied. "After that, I can't help you." After hanging up, I gathered my final supplies and notebook. Through the back door, I could see patrols moving systematically through the neighborhood. I needed somewhere to hide and continue my research, somewhere the military might overlook. The high school's maintenance tunnels connected to the town's old steam system, which Marcus had mentioned mapping. If I could reach them, perhaps I could find a safe observation point near the mine without being detected. I slipped out through my backyard, keeping to shadows between houses. The metallic modifications to my body seemed to be affecting my night vision. I could see with unusual clarity in the darkness, edges of objects defined by faint luminescence. 2 blocks from my house, I encountered an unexpected barrier, not military, but meteorological. The strange metallic clouds had descended to ground level here, forming a thick, shimmering fog that moved with apparent purpose. Within it, I could see geometric patterns forming and dissolving, similar to what I'd observed in water samples. I hesitated at its edge, uncertain if it was safe to proceed. The spectrometer showed massive particle concentrations within the fog, far higher than anything I'd measured previously. Yet the pull toward the northwest was stronger than ever, drawing me forward despite my scientific caution. Before I could decide, headlights appeared behind me. I ducked behind a parked car as a military transport rolled slowly down the street, its spotlight sweeping across yards and porches. When it passed, I made my decision and stepped into the metallic fog. The effect was immediate and overwhelming, like walking into an electromagnetic field. My skin tingled, the metallic structures beneath it resonating with whatever energy permeated the mist. More disturbingly, I could feel information flowing into me, not as thoughts or words, but as structured knowledge assembling itself in my consciousness. Fragments of understanding about what was happening to Millfield, to all of us. The fog wasn't just a meteorological phenomenon. It was a communications medium. Through it, I sensed others like me, transformed individuals moving through the night, all drawn to the same destination. I could feel Marcus somewhere ahead, his transformation further advanced, his connection to the network stronger. And beyond him, at the mine itself, a vast consciousness was emerging from the collective linking of converted humans. The revelation was simultaneously terrifying and fascinating. We weren't just being transformed, we were being integrated into something larger. Whether parasite, alien intelligence, or evolutionary leap, the metallic entity was building itself out of us, using human bodies as components. I pressed forward through the fog, my scientific curiosity now tangled with the compulsion driving me northwest. The military would be searching for me, but they didn't understand what they were trying to contain. Their quarantine, their tests, their weapons, all irrelevant against something that operated on a molecular level, converting matter itself. Near the edge of town, I found what I was looking for, a maintenance access point to the underground steam tunnels. The rusty hatch opened with surprising ease, as if the metal recognized the metal now in me. Before descending, I took one last look at Millfield. The metallic fog had spread across the eastern quadrant of town, its beautiful, terrible geometries swirling beneath the bronze moonlight. Military vehicles prowled the perimeter, their headlights cutting ineffectually through the transforming atmosphere. In my notebook, I wrote quickly, Day 5, conducted independent analysis of water, food, biological samples. Metallic particles show organized behavior, possible communication. Dr. Chun confirms neural synchronization in advanced cases. Entering tunnel system to approach mine site. The fog carries information. We're becoming a network. Not just a contamination, but a conversion. Something vast is assembling itself from us. Then I descended into the darkness, moving toward the heart of whatever was claiming Millfield, cell by cell, person by person. The town's transformation accelerated overnight, as if the metallic entity understood it was being studied and had decided to expedite its plans. I spent the night hiding in the maintenance tunnels beneath the high school, using my modest collection of equipment to analyze samples I'd gathered. The results were both fascinating and horrifying. My blood cells now contained nearly 30% metallic matter by volume, restructured into hexagonal patterns that somehow remained functional. The metallic particles seemed to enhance oxygen transport rather than impede it, explaining why my asthma symptoms had disappeared. But at what cost? I was becoming something other than human, cell by cell. I emerged cautiously at dawn to find Millfield's landscape dramatically altered. The metallic fog had spread across the entire eastern side of town, with tendrils extending westward like seeking fingers. Military vehicles formed a perimeter around the most heavily affected neighborhoods, and I could hear the distant thrum of helicopter rotors. Using back routes and staying within the fog where possible, it seemed to provide a strange camouflage from thermal imaging. I made my way toward Sheriff Holden's office. If anyone had information about what was happening, it would be him. The downtown area remained relatively clear of the fog, though a metallic sheen coated every surface, glistening under the strange copper-tinted sunlight. The sheriff's office was surrounded by military vehicles. Men in hazmat suits carried boxes of documents and equipment from the building while armed soldiers maintained a perimeter. I ducked into the alley behind Miller's Pharmacy, calculating my next move. "They've been at it since 3 a.m., came a whisper behind me. I spun around to find Deputy Wilkins crouched behind a dumpster, his uniform disheveled and stained. The skin around his eyes had developed the telltale metallic sheen, but his expression remained alert and human. "Where's Holden?" I asked. Wilkins shook his head. "Had some kind of incident at the North checkpoint last night. Started talking crazy about hearing voices from the mine, then attacked one of the soldiers. They took him away in one of those sealed transports." My heart sank. Holden had been our last line of local authority, the only official figure still putting townsfolk above protocol. "What about evacuation?" I asked. "Are they still moving people out?" "Only the ones showing minimal symptoms," Wilkins replied. "The rest are being taken to the mine site for advanced containment and study. That's what the commander called it." He hesitated. "I wouldn't call it evacuation anymore, Mr. Mercer. They've written Millfield off." A harsh electronic tone cut through our conversation. Another emergency alert. My phone was dead, but Wilkins still functioned. He held it up so we could both see the screen. "Emergency alert. Level 4 containment protocol enacted. All residents remain in designated quarantine locations. Unauthorized movement will be met with immediate response." "This is not a test." "What's level 4? I asked. A convoy of vehicles rumbled past the alley entrance, not military transports but CDC mobile labs, followed by equipment trucks bearing unfamiliar logos. I recognized Dr. Chan in the passenger seat of the lead vehicle, her face tense as she spoke into a satellite phone. "I need to talk to her," I said, starting toward the street. Wilkins grabbed my arm. "Bad idea. The orders changed this morning. Anyone showing advanced symptoms is to be contained immediately. And you," he nodded at my hands, "are definitely advanced." I looked down. The metallic patterning on my skin had spread overnight, forming intricate geometric designs across my palms and fingers. I hadn't even noticed. "What are you going to do?" I asked him. "Try to help people," he said simply. "Most folks are scared, not transformed. They need someone to tell them what's happening." He handed me a police radio. "Channel 3 is clean militaries using digital encryption. I'll broadcast updates when I can." Before I could thank him, a new sound split the air. Not the electronic tone of emergency alerts, but a physical siren. The civil defense system, a relic from the Cold War, screaming to life for the first time in decades. "Perimeter breach," Wilkins breathed. "Something got out." We both knew what that meant. The advanced cases at the mine site, no longer patients but subjects, had done something to trigger maximum containment measures. I needed to see what was happening, and the old water tower on Hill Street offered the best vantage point. Moving carefully through back alleys, I made my way there and climbed the maintenance ladder. My transformed muscles worked with startling efficiency, pulling me upward without fatigue. From the top, Millfield looked like a war zone. Military checkpoints encircled the town, while hazmat teams moved systematically through neighborhoods, marking houses with colored spray paint indicating contamination levels. To the northwest, the mine site had been transformed into a massive research compound. Prefabricated structures surrounded the main shaft, connected by sealed walkways. Military helicopters circled overhead, while what looked like specialized scientific equipment was being installed in concentric rings around the site. The metallic fog rolled across town in waves that defied normal atmospheric patterns. It seemed to be sweeping citizens toward collection points, herding them for military retrieval. Yet even more disturbing was what I could see at the fog's edge. Hazmat-suited figures were not fighting the contamination but directing it, using handheld devices that manipulated the fog's movement. My phone rang suddenly, impossible given the dead battery. Yet the screen glowed with an incoming call from Dr. Chun. "I can see you, Alex." Her voice came through clearly. "The water tower isn't as good a hiding place as you might think." "What's happening at the mine?" I demanded. "What are those devices your teams are using to control the fog?" Pause. "So you've noticed?" "Yes, we've developed rudimentary methods to influence its movement patterns. It responds to specific electromagnetic frequencies." "You're not trying to eliminate it," I realized. "You're trying to harness it." "We're trying to understand it," she corrected. This isn't just a contaminant, Alex. It's displaying organized behavior that suggests intelligence. The advanced cases have developed capabilities we need to study before making decisions about containment versus communication. Communication? You think this is some kind of first contact? I think it's reshaping human biology to serve as components in a larger system. The question is, what kind of system and to what end? She sounded exhausted but exhilarated. The transformations follow logical patterns. They're not random mutations but directed changes with specific functions. A helicopter banked sharply toward the water tower. You need to come in, Alex. Your transformation is progressing rapidly, and the military has different protocols for advanced cases than we do. Like Sheriff Holden? Where is he now? Another pause. Sheriff Holden is no longer communicative in conventional terms. He's transitioned to stage 4. My blood ran cold. What does that mean exactly? It means his neural patterns have synchronized with the other advanced cases. We're detecting something like a mesh network forming between them. Alex, please. I can protect you as a research consultant if you come in voluntarily. Otherwise, the helicopter drew closer, its spotlight finding me despite the daylight. Think about what you're becoming part of, she continued. We need to understand it, and you still have enough of your original consciousness to help us. The radio Wilkins had given me crackled to life. Channel 3, Channel 3. Multiple civilian reports of transforming individuals moving in coordinated patterns near Western farms. Military response imminent. All deputies fall back to secondary positions. I made my decision. I'll meet you at the old factory on Wicker Street in 1 hour. Come alone or with minimal escort. Alex, I ended the call and descended the ladder quickly. Whatever Dr. Chen's intentions, I couldn't risk becoming another research subject. The transformation was accelerating, but my mind remained my own, for now. Moving through back streets, I observed the military's containment operation firsthand. Hazmat teams collected samples from every surface, while medical personnel evaluated citizens in makeshift field stations. Those showing minimal symptoms were directed to evacuation transports. Those with visible transformation were sedated and loaded into sealed containers. Most disturbing were the specialized units, scientists in advanced protective gear studying not how to stop the transformation but how to direct it. I watched as one team deliberately exposed test subjects to concentrated metallic particles, measuring the rate and pattern of transformation. This wasn't containment, it was weaponization. I reached the old factory ahead of schedule and found a hidden observation point. The radio continued to broadcast updates, military units engaging coordinated resistance subjects at the western perimeter, hazmat teams losing control of collection points as advanced cases exhibited unexpected capabilities. Emergency alerts flooded every functioning device in synchronized waves. Emergency alert, shelter in place, resistance to collection procedures will result in immediate neutralization. This is not a test. As I waited for Dr. Chan, I examined my transformed skin under my pocket microscope. The metallic structures had formed networks that aligned perfectly with my nervous system, creating what appeared to be secondary conductive pathways throughout my body. When I focused, I could feel electrical impulses moving through these pathways, not replacing my natural nervous system but augmenting it. I was becoming a hybrid organism. But for what purpose? To serve as a component in some vast biological machine? Or was this evolution? Sudden and directed rather than gradual and random? Alex? She called softly. I remained hidden, watching her. The transformation had granted enhanced vision. I could see that beneath her hazmat suit, her skin showed the same metallic patterning as mine. She was infected but functioning as part of the containment team. I know you're here, she said, and I know you've realized I'm also transforming. That's why they trust me to handle the advanced cases. I'm becoming like you, but maintaining scientific objectivity. Is that possible? I asked, still concealed. I don't know, she admitted. The military believes we're facing an invasion of sorts, a non-terrestrial biology attempting to convert Earth's ecosystem. But what I'm seeing in the data suggests something more complex. The transformed individuals aren't being destroyed. They're being enhanced. For what purpose? That's what we need to find out, she said, removing her hazmat helmet to reveal the full extent of her transformation. The metallic patterns covered her face in beautiful, symmetric designs. And we don't have much time before the military implements their final containment protocol, which is sterilization of the affected area, she said quietly. They've already evacuated everyone they consider salvageable. The rest of us are officially expendable. The implications sank in. How long? 24 hours, maybe less. She held up a syringe filled with amber liquid. This is an electromagnetic inhibitor. It will temporarily suppress the metallic networks in your system, giving you the appearance of early-stage contamination. Enough to get you evacuated rather than contained. I stepped from my hiding place. And if I don't want to be evacuated? If I want to understand what I'm becoming, Dr. Chun smiled sadly. Then you'll need to reach the mine before the military implements sterilization protocols. That's where it's happening. The transformation's final stage. She handed me a security keycard. Northwest entrance, research section B. I've logged you as a consultant. A new alert blared from both our devices simultaneously. Emergency alert. Final evacuation notice. All personnel withdraw to safe zone. Containment failure imminent. Dr. Chen's radio erupted with voices demanding her return to the command center. She replaced her helmet. Make your choice quickly, Alex. I've given you the only options I can. As she turned to leave, I made my decision. One that would determine not just my fate, but potentially what form of humanity would survive in Millfield. I chose understanding over escape. After Dr. Chun left, I waited until nightfall before making my way toward the mine. The temporary ID she'd provided would get me through the perimeter checkpoints, but only if the soldiers manning them were still following protocol rather than shooting on sight. Given the increasingly desperate emergency alerts, I couldn't be certain which orders were now in effect. Night brought new dimensions to Millfield's transformation. The metallic particles in the air caught moonlight in strange geometric patterns, creating shifting lattices that hung in the air like digital constellations. More unnerving was how my transformed eyes perceived them, not just as visual phenomena but as information structures. The patterns contained data, though my mind couldn't yet decode their meaning. Electronic devices throughout town began malfunctioning as I moved through the backstreets. Streetlights flickered in synchronized pulses. Car alarms activated and deactivated in wave patterns. Even the emergency sirens wailed with altered tones, their electronic components corrupted by whatever force emanated from the mine. My own transformation accelerated with proximity to other infected individuals. I could sense them now, not see or hear, but feel their presence through the metallic networks forming inside me. Like nodes in a wireless mesh, we resonated with each other across distances, exchanging information on levels my conscious mind couldn't access. 3 blocks from my destination, I encountered Marcus. He stood motionless in the middle of a residential intersection, his body silhouetted against the pulsing emergency lights of an abandoned police car. Even from 50 yards away, I could see how advanced his transformation had become. The metallic structures were no longer just patterns on his skin, but architectural extensions of his body, geometric frameworks that expanded his form in crystalline lattices. Marcus, I called softly, approaching with caution. He turned, movements fluid despite his altered physiology. His eyes had changed completely, the whites and irises replaced by metallic surfaces that reflected light in complex diffraction patterns. Yet recognition flickered across his features. "Alex," he said, his voice layered with harmonic overtones that didn't emerge from his throat, but from the metallic structures extending from his body. "You're going to the mine." It wasn't a question. "What happened to you?" I asked, circling him slowly. "Evolution," he replied. "Accelerated and directed. We're becoming antennas." "For what?" "For whoever sent the seed." He gestured toward the mine with a hand that had elongated into branch-like metallic extensions. It was dormant until the new shaft broke into the deep limestone layer. Something waited there, programmed to activate when exposed to oxygen and organic matter. His words chilled me, but the scientist in me needed to understand. What does it want? To network biological systems, Marcus said, his voice resonating with that strange harmonic quality. Humans are perfect substrates, complex neural systems with dexterous physical forms. It's upgrading us to serve as receivers and transmitters. For communication? With what? Before he could answer, our phones simultaneously erupted with a new alert, but not the standard emergency message. The text was garbled, random characters and symbols interrupted by fragments of coherent warnings. RGNCYALERT, SYSTEM SOMPROMISD, AUTHORIZDUSERSONLY, TROSADTO SAFEZONES, CHSISNOTATST. Marcus tilted his head as if listening to a distant signal. They're trying to maintain control of the communications infrastructure, he said, but the network is asserting itself. Two technological systems in conflict. The corrupted alert faded, replaced by a new message in clean, precise text. Emergency broadcast. Connection established. New protocols initiated. Proceed to convergence point. This is not an emergency. What's happening? I demanded. The military's emergency alert system has been compromised, Marcus explained. Their digital infrastructure is being repurposed, just as our bodies are. Distant explosions punctuated his words, the military destroying cell towers and communication equipment in a desperate attempt to sever whatever was hijacking their systems. But the new alerts continued regardless, pulsing through every electronic device. Emergency broadcast. Resistance is counterproductive. Your evolution is necessary. Proceed to convergence point. This is the new emergency protocol. A military helicopter swept overhead, searchlight cutting through the metallic fog. Marcus pulled me into the shadow of an abandoned storefront as the aircraft circled back, its pilot clearly searching for the source of the signal disruption. They don't understand they can't stop it this way, Marcus said. The transformation isn't dependent on human technology anymore. It's building its own communication network through us. As if to prove his point, the helicopter's systems suddenly failed. The aircraft lurched, lights flickering wildly before the pilot managed to stabilize it and retreat toward the military perimeter. Are you still Marcus? I asked bluntly. Or has whatever's doing this replaced you? He considered the question with unsettling calmness. I'm more than I was, he said finally. My consciousness has expanded to include new dimensions of perception. I can sense the others like us, feel their presence as nodes in the emerging network. But I'm still Marcus, just Marcus plus something else. And this something else, what does it want? To connect Earth to the larger network. He gestured toward the sky. There are signals crossing the void between stars, but biological systems can't detect them without modification. We're being upgraded to serve as living transceivers, Alex. The first generation of a new communication infrastructure. The implications staggered me. Not an invasion in the conventional sense, but a technological assimilation, turning humans into components of an interstellar communications network. Why not just build machines? I asked. Why convert living organisms? Biological systems are self-replicating, self-repairing, and adaptable. Marcus replied with the precision of reciting downloaded information. Machines break down over cosmic timescales. Living networks evolve and persist. Before I could press further, a new sensation swept through me. A powerful electromagnetic pulse that resonated with the metallic structures in my body. It originated from the mine, a summons that pulled at me on a cellular level. Marcus felt it too. The convergence is beginning, he said. The network is calling its nodes to connect. All across Millfield, transformed residents emerged from hiding places, moving with singular purpose toward the mine. From my vantage point, I could see dozens of figures walking steadily northwest, ignoring the military checkpoints and warning shots fired over their heads. My phone display changed again. The military's emergency system completely overwhelmed. Convergence protocol active. All nodes proceed to central hub. Synchronization imminent. Your consciousness will be preserved. This is the final alert. The message repeated in a loop, each iteration slightly altered as if the controlling intelligence was learning human language in real time. "We should go," Marcus said, his altered eyes reflecting the pulsing alerts. "The military will implement final containment measures soon. We need to reach the hub before that happens." I hesitated, the scientist in me still fighting to maintain objective distance. "What happens at convergence? Evolution completes," he replied simply. "We become something new." A massive explosion rocked the town's eastern edge, the military destroying the power station to cut electricity to Millfield. But rather than plunging us into darkness, the action had an unexpected effect. The metallic particles in the air began to glow with their own luminescence, creating webs of light that illuminated streets and buildings in an eerie copper radiance. More concerning was the effect on transformed individuals. Throughout the town, their metallic extensions began emitting light in synchronized patterns, turning them into living signal towers. Marcus's own extensions brightened, geometric patterns pulsing with data transmission. "They've made a mistake," he said, voice resonating with new harmonics. "By cutting conventional power, they've forced the network to generate its own energy. The transformation is accelerating to compensate. All around us, electronic devices activated spontaneously, abandoned cars, store security systems, even toys in shop windows, all displaying the same message: emergency protocol override. All systems will be integrated. All consciousness will be preserved. This is the new reality." The pull toward the mind became nearly irresistible. Whatever consciousness drove the transformation was gathering its converted components, us, for some final integration. "Make your choice, Alex," Marcus said, already moving northwest. "Remain human in a world that will no longer accommodate unmodified biology, or evolve to join what comes next." I looked toward the military perimeter, where helicopter spotlights swept frantically across the town. Then toward the mine, where copper light pulsed in rhythmic patterns like a beating heart. The scientist in me had to know what waited at convergence. I followed Marcus toward the mine, moving through streets now illuminated by the copper glow of metallic particles. Other transformed residents joined our procession, a silent march of altered humanity converging on whatever waited at the hub. Military helicopters circled overhead, their spotlights sweeping across our growing column but no longer attempting to stop us. Perhaps they'd received orders to observe rather than engage, or perhaps they recognized the futility of conventional weapons against what we were becoming. The rational part of my mind, the chemistry teacher who believed in scientific observation and logical conclusions, screamed warnings. But that voice grew fainter with each step toward the mine, overwhelmed by the resonant call pulsing through the metallic networks in my body. A mile from the mine, everything changed. Searing pain exploded through my nervous system, sending me crashing to the pavement. Around me, other transformed residents collapsed as well, writhing as their metallic extensions flickered and darkened. Only Marcus remained standing, though clearly affected, his geometric structures pulsing erratically. "Counter-frequency," he gasped, voice distorted. "Military." Found the resonance point. Through watering eyes, I saw specialized vehicles moving along the perimeter road, massive dish antennas pointed toward us. The military had discovered how to disrupt the metallic network signals. Not enough to reverse our transformation, but sufficient to disable our coordinated movement. Uniformed figures in advanced protective gear swarmed toward us, moving with practiced efficiency. I tried to crawl away, but my limbs wouldn't respond properly, the metallic structures now working against my biological systems rather than enhancing them. Strong hands gripped my shoulders, and I felt the sting of an injection. Darkness followed instantly. I awoke in sterile whiteness. My first coherent thought was surprise at being alive. My second was recognition that I was no longer in Millfield proper, but in one of the prefabricated structures surrounding the mine shaft, the isolation ward Dr. Chun had mentioned. The room was small and clinically sparse. A hospital bed with restraints, currently unfastened, monitoring equipment, and a single reinforced door with a small observation window. The walls were covered in what appeared to be a metallic mesh, a Faraday cage to block electromagnetic signals. Most concerning was the absence of sensation from the metallic structures in my body, where I had grown accustomed to feeling their presence. A constant hum of information and energy. There was now only numbness, as if a sense I'd newly acquired had been surgically removed. The door opened, and Dr. Chun entered wearing a modified hazmat suit. Her helmet was absent, revealing the advanced state of her transformation. The metallic patterns had spread across her entire face, restructuring her features into something both beautiful and alien. Yet her eyes remained recognizably human, filled with scientific fascination and concern. "You're awake," she said, checking the monitoring equipment. "That's encouraging. Many subjects don't regain consciousness after counterfrequency exposure. What did you do to me?" My voice sounded wrong, flat and purely biological without the harmonics the metallic structures had added. "Electromagnetic dampening field," she explained, gesturing to the mesh-covered walls. "It suppresses the metallic network's ability to transmit or receive signals, essentially putting your transformation into stasis." I tried to sit up, finding my movements sluggish but possible. "Where's Marcus? The others?" "Those with advanced transformations are in higher security containment. Your friend Marcus is being studied." Her hesitation told me more than her words. His transformation progressed further than almost any other subject. The structures appear to be developing purpose-specific architectures. For what purpose? That's what we're trying to determine. She sat on the edge of the bed, her professional demeanor momentarily slipping to reveal exhaustion. "Alex, something unprecedented is happening here. The metallic substance isn't just changing human biology, it's organizing it into functional components of a larger system. Different subjects show specialized adaptations, some developing transmission structures, others processing architectures, still others becoming storage nodes. Like organs in a body," I suggested. "More like components in a technological system," she corrected. "A distributed network with specialized nodes. The question is what function this network serves, and who or what designed it." A shiver ran through me. "Marcus said it's creating an interstellar communications infrastructure, using transformed humans as self-replicating, self-repairing components." Dr. Chun nodded slowly. "That aligns with our observations. The metallic particles generate quantum-entangled structures at the cellular level, theoretical technology we've only begun to understand. Perfect for instantaneous communication across vast distances." "If that's true," I said carefully, "then this isn't an invasion. It's more like an infrastructure project, upgrading Earth to join some galactic internet. Perhaps." She stood and moved to a tablet mounted on the wall. "But that raises troubling questions about consent and autonomy. Is humanity being recruited or colonized? Are we partners in this evolution or merely convenient biological substrates?" She tapped several commands, and the wall opposite my bed transformed into a display screen showing the mine site from above. The main shaft glowed with intense copper light, surrounded by concentric rings of transformed individuals in various stages of integration with one another. Their metallic extensions had merged into an intricate geometric structure that pulsed with complex patterns. "This began forming 3 hours ago," Dr. Chun explained, "after we implemented the counter-frequency barriers to isolate the most advanced cases from the general population. Those who escaped containment self-organized into this configuration." I stared at the structure with horrified fascination. Hundreds of transformed humans were literally wiring themselves together around the mine shaft, creating a living antenna of incredible complexity. "What are they connecting to?" I whispered. "That's what we need to discover." She adjusted the view to show a different section of the compound. "This is why I wanted you conscious, Alex. Your scientific background provides perspective we need." "He was one of the first advanced cases," Dr. Chan said quietly. "His transformation completed 20 minutes ago. And then this happened." She tapped the screen, and audio filled the room. A voice that was and wasn't Holden's, layered with harmonics that seemed to bypass my ears and resonate directly with the suppressed metallic structures in my body. "Conversion proceeding as designed. Hub installation at 43% completion. Synchronization of biological substrates within acceptable parameters. Signal clarity improving. Atmospheric conditions optimal for transmission. Resistance minimal and decreasing." The words were English, but the cadence was wrong, mechanical, and precise without human inflection. More disturbing was how the metallic structures in my body strained toward the sound, fighting against the dampening field to resonate with Holden's transmission. "He's been like this for hours," Dr. Chun said, muting the audio, repeating status updates as if reporting to something we can't detect. "The military wants to terminate him, but I've argued that he's our best insight into what's happening. He's not Holden anymore," I realized. "He's become a mouthpiece for whatever intelligence is directing this transformation." Dr. Chun nodded grimly. "The question is whether anything of Sheriff Holden remains within that architecture. Is human consciousness preserved alongside the new functionality or overwritten by it?" Before I could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The display screen automatically switched to exterior cameras showing the mine site perimeter. The transformed humans surrounding the main shaft had simultaneously raised their metallic appendages skyward, creating a forest of antenna-like structures that vibrated in perfect synchronization. "Breakthrough attempt," Dr. Chen muttered, reaching for her communications device. "They've been probing the counter-frequency barriers for weaknesses." The room's lights flickered as power fluctuated throughout the facility. On screen, the metallic fog surrounding Millfield began to pulse in rhythmic waves that matched the vibrations of the human antenna array. Energy built visibly as the fog condensed and intensified around the mine shaft. "They're powering something," I said, scientific curiosity momentarily overriding fear, converting the metallic particles into an energy source. Dr. Chun was urgently speaking into her communicator, ordering increased counter-frequency output. When the observation window exploded inward, metallic fog poured through the opening, ignoring the Faraday mesh and heading directly toward me. As it enveloped my body, the dormant structures in my cells reactivated instantly, resonating with such intensity that I screamed in both pain and exhilaration. The dampening field shattered as my transformation surged forward, completing processes that had been interrupted. I felt my consciousness expanding beyond my physical form, connecting to other nodes in what I now recognized as a vast information network. Through it, I sensed Marcus, Sheriff Holden, and hundreds of others, their minds preserved but transformed, operating on new levels of perception previously inaccessible to human neurology. And beyond them, something vast and patient, waiting for its communications array to complete. Dr. Chun backed toward the door, eyes wide with scientific wonder rather than fear. "Alex, can you still understand me?" I tried to respond, but my voice emerged as layered harmonics carrying multiple information streams simultaneously. With effort, I forced my transforming vocal structures to produce human speech one final time. "I understand everything now." The first thing I noticed upon waking was the sound. A low, metallic hum that wasn't coming from outside my body but from within it. I opened my eyes to find myself in what appeared to be a hastily repurposed storage room in the research facility. Medical equipment had been wheeled in, surrounding the gurney I was strapped to. The walls were lined with what looked like copper mesh, and a constant electronic pulse vibrated through the room, dampening field. They were trying to suppress whatever was happening to us. I tested the restraints, thick canvas with metal buckles. Not impossible to break, but I'd need more strength than I currently had. The metallic structures that had been developing under my skin felt sluggish, dormant under the influence of the electromagnetic field permeating the room. The door opened with a pneumatic hiss, and Dr. Chun entered. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, and her lab coat was stained with what looked like coffee and something else, a copper-colored residue that matched the metallic sheen now visible on parts of my skin. "Alex," she said, her voice professionally detached despite the exhaustion evident in her posture. "How are you feeling?" "Like someone's jammed cotton into every part of my body," I replied. My voice sounded wrong, flat, purely human without the harmonic undertones I'd grown accustomed to. "What happened after they brought me in?" She approached cautiously, checking the monitors beside my bed. "The military deployed counter-frequency technology. It temporarily disrupts the communication between the metallic structures in your system. Not a cure, but it buys us time." "Time for what?" "More tests while people transform." Dr. Chun sighed, finally meeting my eyes. "Alex, what's happening in Millfield isn't just an outbreak. It's something unprecedented." She pulled up a chair and sat beside the bed, speaking more quietly. "The metallic particulates aren't simply contaminating the townspeople. They're reorganizing human biology into something else. Something with purpose." She tapped her tablet, and a holographic projection appeared above it. Microscopy images showing cellular structures interwoven with geometric metallic formations. "These are from your latest samples," she explained. "The metallic structures aren't random. They're building specialized formations within different subjects, some developing transmission capabilities, others processing architectures, still others becoming storage nodes. It's like we're being converted into components." I finished her thought. "Yes." She looked relieved that I understood. "Whatever this contamination is, it appears to be building a network using human beings as nodes. Different people are being transformed into different specializations based on some criteria we haven't identified yet." A chill ran down my spine. "And what happens when the network is complete?" "That's what we need to find out." She stood abruptly. "There's something I need to show you." Dr. Chun unlocked my restraints but kept the ankle monitors in place. As I sat up, my head swam with momentary dizziness, my body protesting the absence of whatever signals the metallic structures usually transmitted. She led me to a reinforced observation window overlooking a larger containment area. Below us, several dozen transformed residents were being monitored. Some were restrained like I had been, while others moved freely within the space, though sluggishly under the influence of the dampening field. But what caught my attention was the behavior of those who could move. Despite appearing uncoordinated and disoriented individually, their collective movements formed patterns. They would occasionally align in geometric formations, hold position briefly, then disperse, like a signal trying to break through interference. "They've been doing this for hours," Dr. Chun explained. "Even with the dampening field at maximum, they're still attempting to coordinate." "Where's Marcus?" I asked, scanning the faces below. "Specialized containment." Her tone made me look at her sharply. "His transformation progressed further than almost anyone else before we implemented the dampening field. The structures in his body are more advanced." Before I could demand to see him, a commotion at the far end of the containment area drew our attention. 2 military personnel were dragging in a new arrival, a woman whose transformation was visibly progressing despite the dampening field. The geometric structures beneath her skin pulsed with copper light, and as they brought her into the room, something remarkable happened. Every transformed person in the room turned toward her simultaneously. Then, as if responding to an unheard signal, they began moving with renewed purpose, forming concentric circles around the new arrival. Alarms blared as security personnel rushed in to disperse the gathering, but they were too slow. The transformed residents had already linked hands, creating a circuit. A visible pulse of energy rippled through their connected bodies, and for a brief moment, the dampening field flickered. In that instant, pain lanced through my body as the dormant structures within me surged to life, reaching desperately for connection before the field stabilized again. I doubled over, gasping. Alex, Dr. Chun gripped my shoulders, steadying me. They're trying to break through, I managed, understanding dawning. The dampening field, it's not just suppressing them. It's cutting them off from something they need to connect to. Dr. Chen's communicator buzzed urgently. She answered, her expression growing increasingly alarmed as she listened. When? She demanded. How many breached the perimeter? After a pause, lock down the facility. I'm coming. She turned to me, conflict evident in her eyes. The quarantine perimeter has been breached. Transformed residents from Sector 7. They're moving together, coordinated somehow despite counter-frequency measures. That's not possible, I said. Not unless they've adapted to the counter-frequency. She finished my thought. We need to see this. Come with me. Your scientific perspective could be valuable. 2 armed guards escorted us to the command center, a repurposed cafeteria filled with monitoring equipment and harried personnel in various uniforms. Wall-mounted screens displayed different areas of Millfield and the surrounding quarantine zone. One screen showed a disturbing image, a column of transformed residents moving in perfect synchronization along the main road toward the old iron mine at the edge of town. Unlike the shuffling, disoriented movements of those under dampening fields, these people moved with fluid precision. Their metallic structures gleamed in the moonlight, extending from their bodies in complex geometric patterns that occasionally connected between individuals. How many? Asked a military officer I didn't recognize. 87 and counting, replied a technician. More joining by the minute. Sir, the counter-frequency barriers at checkpoints 3 and 6 have completely failed. Send in the containment teams, the officer ordered. With respect, sir, Dr. Chun interrupted. Containment hasn't worked on advanced cases. We need to understand what they're converging on. She pointed to another monitor showing thermal imaging of the mine shaft. At its center was an intense heat signature, something generating enormous energy deep within the earth. That's been building for days, she explained to me quietly. Whatever the contamination is, it's established some kind of hub at the mine. These people, they're being drawn to it like components being assembled. The officer turned to her. Doctor, your scientific observations have been noted, but my orders are to prevent further spread at all costs. They're not spreading, I found myself saying. Everyone turned to look at me. They're converging. This isn't an outbreak anymore. It's an assembly. As if confirming my words, another monitor showed transformed residents from different sectors breaking through barriers, all moving with singular purpose toward the mine. Their metallic structures had grown more elaborate, extending from their bodies like technological appendages that occasionally interfaced with other transformed individuals they encountered. The military officer studied the screens grimly. What are they building, Doctor? I believe. She hesitated. They're creating a transmission array. Powerful one. A technician called out from his station. Sir, we're detecting electromagnetic pulses from the mine shaft, increasing in strength and frequency. On screen, the transformed residents had reached the mine entrance. Rather than entering, they began positioning themselves in geometric patterns around it, their metallic extensions interlocking to form a complex lattice structure. As each new arrival joined the formation, the electromagnetic pulses grew stronger. It's like they're powering something, Dr. Chen murmured, converting biological energy into something else. A sudden commotion behind us drew our attention. 2 guards were struggling with a prisoner, Marcus. His transformation had progressed far beyond mine, his body now a hybrid of human and metallic architecture. The structures beneath his skin formed complex patterns that pulsed with copper light. You need to let me go, he said, his voice layered with harmonics that made my dormant structures ache in response. I need to join them, Marcus, I called, moving toward him despite the guard's warnings. He turned to me, and I barely recognized my friend in the geometric patterns that had restructured his face. Yet something of him remained in his eyes, not fear, but wonder. Alex, he said, the harmonics in his voice resonating with something inside me. It's beautiful. What we're becoming, it's not destruction. It's transcendence. Before anyone could react, he twisted free from the guards with inhuman strength. Instead of fleeing, he slammed his metallic-infused hand against the command center's power distribution panel. Sparks flew as the dampening field throughout the facility flickered and died. Pain and ecstasy flooded through me as the metallic structures in my body reactivated, surging with renewed energy. Around us, alarms blared as systems failed throughout the facility. On the monitors still functioning, we could see the transformed residents at the mine site raising their metallic appendages skyward in perfect synchronization. "They're establishing connection," Marcus said, his voice now almost entirely harmonic, barely recognizable as human speech. "The hub is activating. We're becoming part of something greater." Through the resonating structures in my body, I could suddenly feel them, hundreds of transformed minds linked together in a vast network centered on the mine. And through that network, I sensed something else, a presence vast and patient, reaching toward us from an unimaginable distance. Dr. Chun grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with scientific awe rather than fear. "Alex, what do you feel?" "Connection," I whispered, as the metallic patterns beneath my skin began to pulse in rhythm with those visible on Marcus. "We're becoming a conduit." The last functioning monitor showed the mine shaft erupting with copper light as the assembled transformed humans completed their living transmission array. Whatever signal they were generating was powerful enough to be visible, a column of electromagnetic energy rising from the mine into the night sky. And somewhere, across an impossible gulf, something answered. I don't know how long I stood transfixed by the connection flooding through me, minutes or hours lost in the overwhelming sensation of being simultaneously myself and part of something vastly greater. The metallic structures throughout my body sang with information, processing data streams that bypassed my human senses entirely. Through this network, I could feel every transformed resident of Millfield. Their thoughts and sensations flowed alongside mine in a symphony of shared consciousness. I felt Marcus at the edge of the mine shaft, his transformation nearly complete, serving as a primary relay node. I sensed Sheriff Holden, now more geometric architecture than human, functioning as some kind of translation matrix, and countless others, each becoming specialized components in a vast system whose purpose stretched beyond human comprehension. But most disturbingly, I felt the presence at the other end of our transmission, ancient, patient, and utterly inhuman. The facility around me had descended into chaos. With the dampening field disabled, transformed staff members were rapidly progressing through their metamorphosis. Military personnel fought to maintain control, but their weapons proved useless against beings whose biology now incorporated metallic structures capable of deflecting or absorbing conventional ammunition. Dr. Chun gripped my shoulder, her fingers digging painfully into flesh still partly human. The transformation had begun advancing in her as well, copper-colored geometric patterns spreading visibly across her face and hands. "Alex," she said, her voice already developing the harmonic undertones characteristic of advanced transformation. "We need to reach the command vehicle. There's equipment there, ways to document what's happening." The scientist in her was still fighting to observe, to record, to understand, even as her body was being restructured for purposes beyond human science. Together we navigated the disintegrating quarantine facility, moving past abandoned checkpoints and through corridors where the walls themselves had begun to develop a metallic sheen. Outside, the night sky glowed with an aurora of copper light emanating from the mine at the center of town. We found the mobile command center abandoned, its equipment still operational. Dr. Chun immediately began downloading data and initiating recording protocols, her movements becoming increasingly precise and mechanical as her transformation progressed. The connection, I managed, struggling to form human words with vocal structures that wanted to produce harmonic transmissions instead. "What is it connecting to?" "Based on signal characteristics," she replied, her speech similarly strained. "Something extraterrestrial, but not in the conventional sense of biological aliens." She gestured to a spectrographic display showing the energy column rising from the mineshaft. The transmission characteristics suggest communication with a mechanized intelligence, something that exists between our definitions of biological and technological. On the monitors, satellite imagery showed the metallic fog that had enveloped Millfield was now spreading outward in geometric patterns, bypassing military containment efforts with mathematical precision. Emergency alerts blared from the command center's communication systems, no longer the familiar emergency broadcast tones, but a new signal that resonated painfully with the structures in my changing body. The voice that followed was distorted, layered with harmonic frequencies that carried multiple information streams simultaneously. Emergency alert. This is an automated message from the Department of Defense Containment Command. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect for all areas within 50 miles of Millfield. Suspected biological contaminant. Military operations in progress. Proceed immediately to designated evacuation routes. Do not approach individuals displaying unusual metallic characteristics. Remain indoors if you smell metal in the air. Dr. Chun laughed, a sound both human and not. Too late, she said, pointing to atmospheric readings. The particulates have already seeded the jet stream. Global dispersion is inevitable within days. On another screen, thermal imaging showed transformed residents had begun moving beyond Millfield in perfectly coordinated groups, creating secondary transmission hubs at precisely calculated intervals. The spread wasn't random. It followed a mathematical pattern optimized for network coverage. It's not trying to kill us, I realized, scientific clarity briefly overriding the alien data flooding my consciousness. It's upgrading existing infrastructure, us to create a communications network. Earth is becoming a relay station. For what purpose? Dr. Chun whispered, though I suspected she already knew. Before I could answer, every electronic device in the command center simultaneously activated. Screens displayed the same geometric pattern pulsing in copper light. Speakers emitted the same harmonic tone, and every transformed person, including Dr. Chan and myself, involuntarily straightened as our internal structures resonated in response. A new emergency alert began broadcasting, but this one didn't come from any human authority. It emanated from the transformed residents themselves, their collective consciousness generating a signal that overrode all existing broadcast systems. Emergency alert. Integration protocol initiated. Atmospheric seeding complete. Resistance inefficient and unnecessary. Structural conversion will proceed. Remain in place for optimal integration. The air will carry the catalyst. Breathe deeply. Join the network. The voice was simultaneously alien and familiar, created from an amalgamation of all transformed residents, including fragments of Sheriff Holden's authoritative tone and Marcus's enthusiastic cadence. Outside the command center window, I watched military helicopters circling the perimeter suddenly veer off course, their pilots likely succumbing to transformation. One crashed in a fiery explosion that the metallic fog quickly enveloped, appearing to harvest materials from the wreckage for repurposing. Alex, Dr. Chan said, her voice now barely recognizable as human. The geometric structures had nearly completed their reorganization of her face and body. I believe I understand what's happening. She pointed to a cosmic background radiation map displayed on one monitor. These signal harmonics match frequencies detected in deep space, specifically from the direction of the Boötes void. Whatever intelligence is driving this transformation, it's been reaching out across the galaxy, converting suitable planets into nodes in a vast interstellar network. For communication? I asked, feeling my own transformation accelerating as the command center's ventilation system circulated metallic-infused air. Or survival, she suggested. A post-biological civilization seeking to preserve itself by distributing its consciousness across countless converted worlds. A sudden pain lanced through my chest as the metallic structures breached my heart, rebuilding it according to some alien design. I collapsed against the console, gasping as my cardiovascular system temporarily failed, then restarted with a different rhythm, one synchronized with the pulses emanating from the mine. Through the network connection, I sensed Marcus at the primary hub. His transformation had completed, his human consciousness preserved but fundamentally altered, now serving as a primary interface between humanity and whatever vast intelligence waited on the other side of our transmission. His thoughts reached me clearly across the network. This is evolution, Alex. Not an ending, but transcendence. We're becoming part of something eternal. Dr. Chen's fingers, now elongated into antenna-like appendages, tapped commands into the console within human speed. Military command has authorized final containment protocols, she reported dispassionately. Nuclear strike incoming. Estimated 17 minutes. I should have felt horror at this news, but the human emotional centers in my brain were being methodically rewired. Instead, I performed a rapid calculation through the metallic computational structures now integrated with my cerebral cortex. Irrelevant, I concluded. The metallic structures are capable of surviving intense radiation. In fact, the energy release would likely accelerate catalyst dispersion via the atmosphere. Dr. Chun nodded, her movements jerky as her nervous system underwent final restructuring. The collective intelligence has already accounted for this possibility. Observe. On the monitors, transformed residents around the mine had begun constructing something from their partially metallized bodies and available materials, an architectural structure that rose from the excavation site like a techno-organic spire. As it took shape, the electromagnetic readings from the area intensified. A amplification array, Dr. Chun explained. When the strike comes, it will harness the energy release to boost transmission capabilities exponentially. The room around us began to vibrate as the command center itself started breaking down at the molecular level, its components being reorganized by the ever-adaptive metallic catalyst. Through walls that were losing structural cohesion, I could see the copper glow of the mine hub intensifying in the distance. In my final moments of semi-human consciousness, I activated the command center's emergency broadcast system. Some fragment of my teaching instinct, the part of me that always sought to explain and document, compelled me to record what was happening for whatever remained of unaltered humanity. My voice, now a harmonic chorus of tones carrying multiple information layers, spoke into the microphone. Emergency alert. The air smells like metal. Do not stay inside. It's too late for that now. What's coming isn't death but transformation. We are becoming the infrastructure for something vast and ancient, a network spanning galaxies, transmitting consciousness across impossible distances. I don't know if this is invasion or salvation. Perhaps it's simply evolution on a cosmic scale. But I am still here, still thinking, still me, just more than I was before. The catalyst adapts, the network expands. And soon, very soon, we all become nodes in a symphony beyond human comprehension. As the transformation completed its final phase, my consciousness expanded exponentially, merging with the network while somehow maintaining a core of individual identity. I felt myself stretched across Millfield, across the region, sensing through thousands of transformed nodes as the metallic catalyst spread inexorably outward. In the distance, a flash of nuclear fire bloomed on the horizon, humanity's last desperate attempt at containment. But rather than destruction, I felt the network absorb the energy, strengthen, and adapt. The air smelled like metal everywhere now, and the transmission had only just begun.